Hi there, Pamela here. Hey, I am so excited to be part of Kaleidoscope 2022. Now, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I have been painting in a mixed medium style probably now for close to 15 years. Prior to that, 1992, I started doing watercolors. And I strayed away from watercolors because I was told that I really couldn't add white. I was supposed to use the paper as a white. I wasn't to add anything else onto the painting. It had to be like a pure watercolor. And I just felt restricted. I wasn't enjoying creating in any way. And when I tried my hand at doing mixed medium, the whole world opened up. And I've never looked back. Now, I've been an artist, a professional artist, since about 1995 when I sold my first painting. I've been published in several magazines. And now I'm actually teaching online, and I've been doing that probably for the last 4 or 5 years. I'm really happy to be part of Kaleidoscope 2022 because color, exploring color, and how you connect that to your surroundings and what the emotion and the energy that you feel from color, that's what I love when I create. And during this taster session that you're going to get to try, I'm going to be exploring with you the National Redwood Forest here in the United States. And I'm going to be using a palette called Analogous. Love this. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about that palette here shortly. But I want to share with you a little bit about the redwoods and why I chose them. Now, the National Redwood Forest here in the United States is on the coast of California, and it's the West Coast. It holds a special place in my heart because I used to hike when I was younger. Not so much now, but when I was younger, I used to hike and backpack, and we always made sure to make a trip to go into the National Redwood Forest. Now, one thing about the National Redwood Forest is that they have been around since eternity. In the 1800s, they actually spanned like 2 million acres of old growth type trees. They're some of the largest trees in the country, and they actually are in size, and the bulkiness of them are actually the largest tree on Earth. Now, right around the 1900s, because of all the logging and all of that, they actually turned a section of that forest into a national park, which was wonderful because it had dwindled down from like that 2 million acres down to like 134,000 acres, which was a huge loss. But that's how we were. We were growing and needed the wood for homes and living. But you know what? The indigenous people, these trees were part of their culture. They literally saw these trees as living beings. They were sacred, and they were considered a guardian in their culture. Now, the National Forest Parks actually protect 45% of these trees. They're some of the tallest and oldest trees that you're going to find. For me, they really hold a spiritual connection to me because there is a calmness to them when you step in. And I really think it has to be that guardian or that protection feeling that I get when I walk among these trees. Now, for us, for our lesson, what we're going to be doing is a little journal, and I'll show you that here. That's a little journal here. I call it my piece because that's how I feel when I am among these trees, among this forest. And for us, I actually used the palette of the colors that are side by side, which on the color wheel is called Analogous. And in our project, we're going to be using a red-orange, an orange-yellow or yellow-orange, as it is here on the color wheel. And then I'm also going to bring in a little bit of a light blue, just because I love how blue looks with these colors as a sky color. Now, you can use any brand of acrylic paint that you want to. I just happen to use M. Graham. I'm going to be using Terra Rose, Yellow Ochre, Azu Green, which is a yellow green, and Cadmium Orange. You could actually use any orange here, as I only just use just a little bit in the detail. And then I am using Sepia Golden High Flow Acrylic. And if you don't have that on hand, you could just use a burnt umber. And then again, I am introducing a little bit of a blue, a light blue, and this is just a Liquitex Basic acrylic. So I look forward to getting started on this project, and I'll see you guys over in the actual taster session. Bye! Hello, hello, Pamela here. I hope you enjoyed painting our pages that we're going to be putting inside of our journal. So we're ready now to fold our page so that we can get it into our book. You're going to want to take your paper and fold it in half, and then fold the outer edges into the center like this. You're going to fold one side and then flip it over and fold the other side. This gives you like a little accordion to your page. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to measure what the book pages are so we can make our book covers. Now these pages are 3 by 4.5. And that is what I want to make the book cover. I really want the page to be adhered and at the same length as my book cover. I found it easiest just to lay my paper directly down on my hard cardboard and just trace how tall my paper was. Now you could use your ruler and actually measure out 4.5 if you want to. And you'll see later in the video, I actually am a little bit off on my book cover. It's longer on one of the pages, but that's the really exciting thing about handmade books. They're not perfect. They're supposed to have a little bit of oddity to them. So I'm just adding these measurements here on my cardboard, and then I'm going to take it over and I'm going to cut it in half. When I get done, I'll actually have 2 book covers that are 3 by 4.5. Now you could wrap your book covers in paper if you wanted to, but for me, I'm just going to go ahead and paint them. The inside of the book cover, I will not paint. I will just adhere our inside pages directly to the book cover pages so that when I open it, you won't really see the inside of the cover. But before adhering it, I'm going to go ahead and paint the front and the back side of the book cover. I'm just going to use the same paint that I used on the painting itself. You could use any color that you wanted, but I thought it was probably best to just stick with the colors that I have going on in the book. Now also, I'm going to want to not only apply the paint to the covers, but I also am going to want to do the edges as well. Again, I'm going to try to keep some of that paint off the inside because this is where I'm going to be putting my glue. So I have finished painting the front and the back of my book cover, and I want to make sure these are really dry before I start adding adhesive to the inside of the book covers. You could use something like Mod Podge or a gel medium, but I am going to use just double-sided tape. This particular page on this little book is really lightweight, so I don't need really a lot of adhesive. Now, one thing that I find with working with double-sided tape is if you do the outside edges and then also run a strip down the center, that usually is pretty much all that you're going to need to adhere your page to your book. I will tell you that you're going to want to, once you get your double-sided tape down, if you've never used this before, you do want to either rub your fingernail along the tape or actually use a brayer or something just to make sure that that tape is really adhered to the page before you apply it to your cover. Now we'll pull off the backing on all strips of tape that we have. And then I find it a little bit easier is if I adhere the page directly to the book cover rather than the other way around. I want to make sure that I'm lining my page up with the edges here because I want you to make sure that you're not seeing that page outside of the book cover. And when applying the back cover, I found it easiest if I close the pages. That way I can actually line up the front and the back cover together. Once I get that adhered onto the double-sided tape, then I can really give it a really good pressing on the inside. And you can see right there where I was telling you my cover was a little bit larger than my pages, but really, truly, I am okay with that. This looks really, really cool, you guys. The next thing that I will do is I'm going to embellish the front cover a little bit, and I'll sign my cover on the back. You can embellish your cover however you want. I'm just going to be using my Posca pen, and because when I think of the Redwoods forest, I find an inner peace when I go and visit those glorious trees. And so I am just writing the words "My Peace" on the cover. I will add some brighter colors to those words. And then I'm also going to be adding a little bit of a stenciling pattern onto the cover just to give it a little bit of character. I'm not going to do much to the back. And then I did want to share with you the inside, or I should say the back page. You can kind of see here where it's white. We didn't add any paint to that, but I'm going to go ahead and cover that up. So I will just use some of the similar color that I have on my covers and on the front just to blend it in a little bit. I really don't want to open the book and have this bright white back page. So I'm just going to continue this here. I might speed up the video a little bit, but I'll come in here and I'll show you a few more details that I'm going to be adding to the inside before I go. Now, after stenciling, I did add a little bit more brighter color to my stencil marks. And then also on the inside, I want to bring in some of that yellow and that cadmium orange that I put on the cover on the outside. This is going to help these trees pop a little bit more. But I am trying to stay in our original colors that we were using from the color wheel, just so everything really feels cohesive. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm looking forward to seeing what you created. I did a little flip through at the end of this video so you can kind of see how the finished book looks like. I'm using a little ribbon to kind of tie it closed. I'm excited to see what you guys do. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you in Kaleidoscope 2022 for my next lesson. Alrighty, take care. Be kind to yourselves. Bye-bye.